Hi guys, I have some really exciting news to share with you. As beautiful and as valuable and as special as this home has been to myself, Rocco, Tom and Apple, we are ready for our next adventure to begin. We are officially house hunting. We are looking for a new home where we can expand our family, experience new journeys, new adventures, and have more beautiful, special moments and memories. And I'm excited to be able to share this with you. Now, in going through this process, Tom and I are doing some really important, valuable, and helpful things to help plan and prepare for this next big purchase. And as I was going through these things, I realized how helpful they are in taking the pressure and stress off my shoulders and Tom's. And I realized it was really important that I share these things with you. They're so helpful that it doesn't matter whether you're buying your first home or your 50th home. These tips really do help make a difference. So that not only do you find the right type of home loan for you, you pay it off quickly, but it also helps you achieve your own personal financial goals and dreams. So I'm really excited about sharing this with you. Now, on that note, I'm also going to let you know that this video is proudly sponsored by and a collaboration with Athena Home Loans. And if you watch all the way through, you're going to be so grateful that you watched this video and that they sponsored it. All right, tip number one is we have an imaginary mortgage. It is really important to Tom and I that we don't overextend ourselves and borrow too much money. And we know that we can not only afford our new mortgage, but we can also pay it off as quickly as possible. Because we know that the quicker we pay off our mortgage, the quicker we can get back on top of investing and in building our long-term passive income stream. So what we've done is we've increased our existing mortgage repayments to what the new mortgage is going to be. Now, the benefit in doing this is we can see that our budget works. We can see what changes we need to be making to our budget before committing to a new mortgage. And we know realistically how quickly we're going to be able to pay off this new mortgage. Now, in the meantime, whilst we're house hunting, the benefit to this is our mortgages are actually coming down and we're saving ourselves valuable time and money. And this means we're going to end up having a bigger deposit to pay for a home. And as we all know, the bigger deposit you have, the smaller mortgage you're going to have. So this is a really valuable tool that I highly recommend you do before buying a home. Now, another really valuable little tip I'm going to throw in here right now is when it comes to practicing with your imaginary mortgage, and that is practicing with a 3% interest rate rise. In most countries around the world, we are sitting in record low interest rates. And whilst it's been like this for a while, and it may even continue to remain like this for a while, it won't always be like this. It is really important to Tom and I that when interest rates start going up, which is only a matter of time, that we never jeopardize losing the family home, that we can always afford to remain in our home and we can always afford to actually pay that mortgage off. So in working out what our new mortgage repayments are going to be, we've factored in an interest rate rise of 3%. And that also means that when interest rates do start going up, we are so ahead of the game and it doesn't actually impact our budget at all because we were always maintaining those mortgage repayments anyway. The second tip is we've got a pre-approval in place. That means the bank has agreed that they will lend us under certain terms and conditions a certain amount, which means that we know exactly what we can afford to borrow and buy. Now, the worst thing you want is to go house hunting, find the house of your dreams, sign a contract, agree to buy that house, hand over a deposit, and then get a nasty shock to discover that you can't actually afford to borrow and the bank won't lend you as much as you thought you would. You jeopardize losing your deposit, and trust me, I've seen this happen. It's a disaster. Make sure you take the time now, whilst you're house hunting, to get a pre-approval loan in place. But don't just do this anywhere. Stop and take the time to look at who has the best rates, who has the lowest fees, and which loan providers are passing on those interest rate cuts. This is really important. You want to make sure that your loan works for you. Now, this is where I'm going to give Athena Home Loans a massive, well-deserved shout out. Because not only do they have one of the lowest interest rate home loans in the market, they were also one of the very first loan providers to pass that interest rate cut, not just a little bit of it, but the full 25 basis points to their customers. And they promise this to not just the new customers, but their existing customers as well. Tip number 3 is to pound that pavement. This is going to be one of the biggest assets, if not the biggest asset, Tom and I ever buy. And if you live in Australia, you know all about the expensive cost of stamp duty. So we need to make sure that we buy the right house. We don't want to be changing the house in a couple of years' time because it wasn't right. So we've made sure we've sat down and worked out exactly what we're looking for. What suburbs we want to live in that works for our jobs. How many bedrooms we want. How many bathrooms we want. What are the key things for us? Do we need parking? Do we need a garden? How many levels? How close to public transport? How close to other facilities such as the beach, such as the shops, such as schools? These are things we are really making sure that we know exactly what we want, so that when we see the right home, we know whether we need to jump on it quickly or not. Now, it's really tempting to be really lazy when it comes to house hunting and just look at them online. But you'll know that when you go and inspect properties from looking at them online, they can be very different. They can use wide angle lenses, they can overexpose the property, they make it look so much bigger than what it really is, and they can hide all those problems with the property. So it's really important that not only you look online and do your research that way, but you go and inspect the properties yourself. Now I have to say, finding a really good real estate agent that has been working in the area that you're looking to buy can be incredibly helpful in helping you buy the right property, because you make your money when you buy. So in my book, Mindful Money, I have a whole list of really insightful, intriguing, and valuable questions to ask a real estate agent when it comes to inspecting property and finding a property that you think might be right for you. So I highly recommend going through this list and making sure you remember these questions and ask these questions when appropriate. Remember, you make your money when you buy. Now, on that note, if you go and see a property that you like but it's not right for you, regardless of this, always follow up and find out what the property actually sold for. So many times I've inspected a property and thought, no, this wasn't right for us, it's out of our price range, and then found out a month later that actually it sold for a lot less, or vice versa. I've seen a property been really excited about it and then found out that it sold for a lot more. Now, by knowing what these prices and what the property is actually sold for, it's starting to give me a really good idea as to what is good value for money. And I'm also starting to recognize properties that were on the market a few months ago that didn't sell and are now back on the market again. I'm able to understand why the vendors are selling and potentially use that to our advantage. Tip number 4 is personal protection power. I'm talking about personal insurances, and I promise you I will make some other videos around personal insurance. But when it comes to buying a home, this highlights the particular importance in looking at your insurances, what type of policies you have in place, and how much cover you've got, and is it right for your situation. Now, I have sat down with Tom and explained to him all the policies that I have in place, from life insurance to make sure that I cover the mortgage, from total and permanent disablement, which covers a mortgage and leaves a lump sum of money for us, and of course the two most important insurances, which are income protection and trauma cover. I need to go and organize all these insurance policies now for Tom, so that by the time we do buy a home, we've already protected this mortgage. Because the last thing Tom and I want for our family is if something happens to either him or I, that we're not able to afford to keep the family living in the home. We want to make sure that no matter what happens to us from a medical perspective, we can always afford to pay off the mortgage, and we can always afford to put food on the table and maintain our standard of living. And now that we know what our new mortgage is going to be, it allows me to go and organize Tom's insurances. Now, an important note about this, by doing it now rather than further down the track, as you go through the insurance process, you may need to do some medical tests or answer some medical questions. If we come across any technicalities in our insurance application where it's reduced, or there's a loading, or there's an exclusion on our policy, we know upfront in advance, and we can decide whether we want to take on that risk by having a large mortgage or not. And we can decide accordingly to lower our price point if we need to. And then the 5th tip is till death do us part. If anything happens to Tom and I, we want to make sure that our family is protected and our assets are distributed as per our own individual wishes that we each value and respect. We are a modern family. Rocco is from a previous marriage. Tom and I both have different incomes. We both have different assets that we've accumulated separately. And of course, we're going into a big joint asset going forward, and we'll be also investing together as well. These are complicated matters, so it's really important that we make sure we set out our estate planning wishes up front and that they're legally documented so that no one ever jeopardizes challenging our estate planning wishes. And it also means that if anything happens to us, we have complete and peace of mind knowing that our family is protected and the assets are distributed correctly. And this also includes a contribution towards a charity of each of our choices. So what we've done is I've consulted with a lawyer who is currently in the process of drawing up a will, which includes a testamentary trust, so that all those things that are important to me and to my family are properly matched if anything happens to me. So as you can see, these 5 things are really valuable and they give you really important things to think about before you get into the excitement and the rush of buying a new home. Now, I suspect it's going to take a while for Tom and I to find a new home because whatever I tend to like, Tom doesn't like. Whatever Tom likes, I don't like, but eventually we will get there. But in the meantime, we're going to make sure we really fatten up our deposit so we have the smallest mortgage possible. We're going to make sure that we have the lowest rate possible. We're going to make sure we have the right type of loan that matches our financial goals and dreams, and make sure we are always going to be able to pay that loan off as quickly and efficiently as possible. If you are house hunting, I highly recommend checking out the Athena website where you can check how competitive your existing loan is and what your new mortgage potentially could be with their low interest rate. All right, everyone, thank you for watching and ciao for now.